The galaxy had always believed humans were small, weak, and disorganized. Most alien civilizations looked at Earth and its people with mild curiosity, nothing more. But somewhere in the outer edges of space, far beyond the main trade routes, a human colony sent a faint distress signal. It was weak, almost lost in the endless stars. But the signal carried a message of fear and hope. Fear of an approaching threat, and hope that someone would answer. The Zetherians, a proud and powerful alien race, intercepted the signal. They ruled 100 star systems with strict control and ruthless efficiency. To them, humans were nothing more than pests, amusing in their chaos. Admiral Krylox, commander of the Zetherian fleet, looked at the data with a confident smirk. "A human colony is in trouble," he said to his officers. "Let's see what these creatures can do. A small display of our power will remind them of their place in the galaxy." The Zetherian fleet set course, engines humming with controlled power. As they approached the human warship orbiting the colony, their scanners began to work. At first glance, the warship seemed ordinary, medium size, not heavily armed. A simple design compared to the Zetherians' massive war machines. The officers laughed. "This will be easy," one said. "We can destroy it before they even react." But as the scanners dug deeper, the numbers started to confuse them. The human ship's shields were stronger than expected, energy reserves far beyond what their size should allow, and the weapon systems. Krylox paused. Every detail, every module, every subsystem seemed designed with purpose and intelligence. These readings, "They're impossible," Krylox muttered, leaning closer to the screen. He studied the patterns, the energy flows, the calculations. The human ship's systems were not only functional, they were adaptive. They seemed to anticipate threats before they happened, shifting power, adjusting defenses, and calculating outcomes with a speed that defied Zetherian logic. Krylox frowned. "They've underestimated humans," he said, almost aloud. But the officers around him laughed again. "Overestimated? It's just a machine. Humans aren't fighters. They flee, they hide, they panic." Yet Krylox could not ignore the evidence. Something about this ship was different. It carried the essence of the humans themselves, their unpredictability, their courage, their unwillingness to surrender. He could feel it in the way the energy patterns danced across his screen, as if the ship were alive with intent. Inside the human warship, Captain Alara stood on the bridge, watching the stars outside. Her crew worked in quiet focus, adjusting systems, checking weapons, and preparing for whatever might come. "They'll come," she said softly, almost to herself. "And they'll think this will be easy. But they don't know humans." Her crew glanced at her, reading the calm determination in her eyes. Fear existed, yes, but it did not control them. Fear was natural. Courage was a choice. And they had chosen courage. "We fight for our people," she said. "We fight because we refuse to be broken." The human warship hung in the darkness, a small silhouette against distant stars, yet inside it burned the heart of a species the galaxy had never respected. As the Zetherian fleet approached, scanners feeding information to their commanders, Krylox felt a chill. This was not going to be a simple mission. Humans were something else entirely. The first probe scans returned more data. The numbers didn't lie. The shields were adaptive, the weapons were precise, and the ship's systems seemed to think, learn, and respond. Krylox looked at the officers around him. "We are about to make a mistake," he said quietly, almost to himself. "And it will be our last." Somewhere inside the human warship, Captain Alara smiled faintly as if she had felt the gaze of their enemies through the stars. She knew the galaxy thought humans were weak. She knew the galaxy believed her people would be crushed. But she also knew one thing. Humanity did not give up. Not ever. And today the universe would learn the price of underestimating them. The Zetherian fleet drifted closer, confident and arrogant. Their massive ships glimmered like predators in the void, engines humming with controlled power. Every officer aboard believed victory was certain. After all, humans were small, weak, and chaotic. That had always been the truth until now. Admiral Krylox studied the human warship again. Every scan revealed systems that should not exist. Adaptive shields that shifted faster than Zetherian calculations, energy weapons that could strike multiple targets with precise timing, and defensive patterns that seemed intelligent. It was as if the ship itself were alive, understanding their every move. "They're just a single ship," one officer scoffed. "It can't withstand our fleet." Krylock shook his head. "You don't understand. This is no ordinary ship. Humans designed for unpredictability. Their systems adapt. They learn, and they do not surrender." His voice was low, almost a warning no one expected. Inside the human warship, Captain Alara walked along the bridge, eyes calm yet alert. She watched her crew work with precision. Every officer, every technician, moved like parts of a single organism. Fear was there, hidden in quick breaths or tense hands, but it did not control them. Humanity thrived on courage, even in the face of overwhelming odds. "Status report," Alara asked, stopping in front of her tactical officer. "All systems are optimal, Captain," the officer replied. "Weapons and shields are synchronized. We can handle multiple targets simultaneously." Alara nodded. "Then we fight smart, not reckless. Protect the colony. Protect our people." Her voice carried both authority and quiet reassurance. The crew straightened, bolstered by her confidence. Humans might be underestimated by the galaxy, but not by those who knew them. The Zetherians fired the first shot. A pulse of energy tore across the darkness toward the human ship, designed to test, intimidate, and destroy. The shields flared instantly, absorbing the attack without faltering. Sensors on the Zetherian side recorded an unexpected anomaly. The ship had not only survived, it had responded before the attack ended. "They anticipated us," an officer whispered, voice tight with disbelief. How is that possible?" "They are humans," Krylock said, voice tight. "And humans do not follow the rules of reason." Inside the warship, the bridge lights reflected on determined faces. Captain Alara gave her orders calmly. "Countermeasures active. Weapons in sequence. Focus on disabling, not destroying." The human ship moved with a fluid grace that defied size. It dodged, redirected energy, and struck with pinpoint accuracy. The Zetherian fleet found themselves caught in a dance they could not predict, their largest ships suffering precise blows that left them crippled but intact. Krylox's fingers clenched on the control panel. He had been a commander for decades, yet never had he faced such strategy. Every maneuver, every attack, every decision of the humans seemed to anticipate his fleet's movements. It was as though the humans were reading his mind, calculating every outcome before he even considered it. "Prepare for withdrawal," Krylox finally said, voice trembling. His officers froze in shock. Withdrawal was unthinkable. They were the supreme force of the region. But the truth could no longer be ignored. Humans were not what they seemed. On the human bridge, Alara watched the fleet falter. She felt no glee, only relief and sorrow. Many Zetherians would survive to tell the story, but humanity had defended itself and its colony without unnecessary destruction. She whispered quietly, almost to herself, "We fight to protect, not to conquer. That is our strength." The Zetherians realized something too late. Humans were not predictable. Humans were not weak. Humans were courage, intelligence, and heart embodied in steel and energy. And this miscalculation, thinking humans could be easily crushed, would haunt them forever. As the Zetherian fleet pulled back, wounded and shaken, Captain Alara turned to her crew. "Today they learned a lesson," she said softly. "Never underestimate a human." The stars seemed to shine a little brighter, as if acknowledging a new force in the galaxy. A small human warship, calm and unwavering, had changed the course of history, and humanity was only just beginning to show what it could do. The Zetherian fleet hesitated at the edge of the human warship's range. They had studied it for hours, their pride slowly dissolving into unease. What they had thought was an ordinary vessel turned out to be a fortress of intelligence and strategy. Admiral Krylox's confidence was gone. For the first time in decades, he felt fear, not of dying, but of failing. Inside the human warship, the bridge was calm. Captain Alara stood at the center, watching the approaching fleet. She did not smile, nor did she panic. She knew the Zetherians expected humans to be weak, to flee or surrender, but they had underestimated more than her ship. They had underestimated her people. The first Zetherian attack came without warning. Energy beams cut through the void toward the human ship, a warning of the power they wielded. Alara's crew reacted instantly. Shields flared, absorbing the attack, while the ship shifted its position smoothly, almost as if it had a mind of its own. The Zetherians were shocked. They are responding before our attack even completes, one officer shouted. Alarms rang on every bridge, screens flashing in confusion. Impossible. Their systems are anticipating us. They are humans, Krylox muttered under his breath, voice tight with disbelief. And humans do not follow logic. The human warship fired back, not recklessly, not in anger, but with precision and strategy. Its weapons targeted the Zetherian fleet's weak points, the engines, the shields, the command systems. Ships that were once proud and unstoppable suddenly struggled to maintain formation, drifting helplessly as their weapons misfired. On the human bridge, the crew moved in harmony. Every order was executed perfectly. Every calculation was exact. Captain Alara's eyes scanned the screens, calm and focused. Focus on disabling, she instructed. We protect, not destroy. We fight to survive. The Zetherians tried to adapt, but every move they made was already anticipated. The humans adjusted instantly, redirecting energy, moving shields, creating illusions that confused the enemy. The human warship seemed to dance through space, fluid and unstoppable. Krylox gritted his teeth. He had led fleets across galaxies, faced enemies with unimaginable power, yet nothing had prepared him for this. The humans were not machines, yet they fought like one. They did not panic. They did not make mistakes. Every maneuver was perfect. Every strike calculated. One Zetherian officer finally spoke the truth aloud. Admiral, we've underestimated them. This is not a battle we can win. Krylox closed his eyes for a moment, a heavy weight on his shoulders. Pride had blinded him. The galaxy had mocked humans for centuries, calling them primitive, weak, and insignificant. And now, staring at the screens filled with warning messages and disabled ships, he realized the terrible truth. Humans were extraordinary. The human warships' counterattacks were relentless, but controlled. No Zetherian life was taken unnecessarily. Ships were disabled, engines burned out, weapons jammed, but the humans avoided total annihilation. Alara whispered to herself, strength without mercy is not courage. Protecting life is true power. As the first round of attacks ended, silence fell across the battlefield. The Zetherians floated shocked, unable to comprehend what had happened. The humans were still standing, still operational, still calm. Captain Alara turned to her crew. Her voice was quiet but carried the weight of authority and warmth. They thought us weak. They thought they could break us. Let them learn this truth. Humanity will survive. Humanity will endure. Humanity will fight for life. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, indifferent to the conflict below. Yet in the darkness of space, one small human warship shone like a beacon of courage and hope. The galaxy had been warned, whether it wanted to listen or not. Humanity was not to be underestimated. The stars stretched endlessly around the human warship, yet the void was alive with the soundless chaos of battle. The Zetherian fleet was powerful, vast, and experienced, but humans were proving something far more dangerous: adaptability. Every attack Zetherians launched was met not with panic but with precise and calculated countermeasures. Captain Alara stood on the bridge, her eyes calm but sharp. She watched the screens as Zetherian energy beams struck shields only to be redirected or absorbed. The humans moved as one, officers, engineers, and pilots working in seamless harmony. Fear was present, of course, but it was under control, sharpened into focus and strategy. They've broken formation, a young crew member exclaimed, voice tinged with awe. They didn't expect us to react this fast. Alara nodded, her mind racing through possibilities. Good, keep them off balance. We don't just fight with weapons, we fight with their assumptions. Every move they make, we anticipate. Every flaw we exploit. Remember, we protect, we survive. The Zetherians tried to regroup. Massive ships changed trajectory, firing volleys meant to overwhelm the humans. But each move was anticipated. The human warships split energy across multiple systems, creating phantom signals that confused sensors, masked positions, and tricked the enemy into attacking empty space. One by one, Zetherian ships found their weapons misfiring, engines sputtering, and communications scrambled. Admiral Krylox gritted his teeth on the bridge of his flagship. How is this possible? He shouted. They are learning, predicting our every action. They are thinking. The realization hit hard. Humans were not only clever, they were strategic geniuses under pressure. Every pattern of attack the Zetherians had relied upon was countered. Every assumption about human weakness shattered. Krylox had faced countless enemies, but none had ever been so unpredictable, so precise, so relentless. On the human warship, Alara's crew remained composed. Her orders were clear and simple: protect the colony, disable the fleet, survive. And they did, every man and woman acting with trust in one another and in their captain. Shields are holding, the tactical officer reported, but they're concentrating fire on our starboard side. Alara's mind worked quickly. Divert energy to the front shields. Prepare counterstrike on their lead ship. Focus on immobilizing, not destroying. Show them humanity can fight without hatred, but will fight with precision. The human warship moved like a living thing, twisting and shifting through the void. Energy pulses radiated out, striking the Zetherian's engines, power cores, and weapons arrays. Ships that had once floated confidently now spun helplessly, unable to form lines or coordinate attacks. Panic spread across the enemy fleet, a sensation foreign to them. Krylox slammed his fist against the console. "Withdraw! Pull back!" The officers looked at him in shock. Never before had a Zetherian fleet been defeated without utter annihilation. But the humans were not just defeating them. They were teaching them a lesson in intelligence, courage, and heart. Inside the human ship, Alara watched Zetherian vessels drift in confusion. She did not gloat. Her eyes were calm, almost sorrowful. "We fight because we must," she whispered. "Not for revenge, not for pride, for life, for humanity." And then she gave the final orders that would decide the encounter. "Hold position. Signal surrender conditions. Let them leave wounded but alive. They will know fear but not death. They will remember humanity, our courage, our strength, and our mercy." The Zetherians' retreat was slow, hesitant, and filled with confusion. Their confidence was shattered. They had underestimated the humans, and now the cost was evident. Humanity was no longer to be mocked or ignored. They were a force of mind, heart, and courage that could not be predicted, controlled, or broken. As the stars stretched silently around them, the human warship glided like a sentinel of hope. In the darkness of space, a single truth became clear. To fight a human is to face an enemy who thinks, adapts, and endures. And the Zetherians would never forget it. Silence fell over the void after the battle. The Zetherian fleet had retreated, their ships damaged and disorganized, engines weak and weapons offline. The humans did not cheer or celebrate. Instead, the crew of the human warship moved quietly, checking systems, tending to minor damages, and ensuring every member of their team was safe. Courage had won the day, but responsibility was heavier than triumph. Captain Alara stood on the bridge, her eyes calm as she looked at the remnants of the Zetherian fleet drifting away. Her voice, soft but resolute, carried across the bridge. "They will remember this encounter for generations. Humanity does not strike for hatred. We fight for life, for protection, for those who cannot defend themselves." A young crew member approached her, still catching their breath. "Captain, do you think they will attack again?" Alara shook her head gently. "Perhaps, but let them come. Humanity will be ready. We do not seek war, but we never fear it. Today we showed them what humans truly are. They will think twice before underestimating us again." Down below, engineers and technicians worked tirelessly, repairing shields, recalibrating weapons, and ensuring engines were stable. They were tired, their muscles sore, yet their spirits remained unbroken. They had faced one of the galaxy's most powerful fleets and survived, not just survived, but had taught a lesson in courage, strategy, and morality. Messages began to flow across the human warship's communications channels. Other colonies and allied outposts were receiving reports of the battle. Humanity's reputation, long dismissed or mocked, had grown in a single day. The galaxy would no longer see humans as weak. They would see them as a species capable of bravery, intelligence, and precision unmatched even by the most advanced fleets. In the Zetherian command ships, Admiral Krylox faced a storm of confusion and fear. His pride had been shattered, and the humiliation was overwhelming. "We underestimated them," he muttered, voice tight with anger and disbelief. "We assumed they were weak, unorganized, primitive, and yet they have outsmarted us at every turn." One of his officers hesitated before speaking. "Admiral, what do we do now? The fleet is crippled, our systems are compromised, and the humans, they have mercy. They did not destroy us, but we have learned their power firsthand. Krylox's gaze was distant, haunted by the realization that the galaxy had misjudged humanity for centuries. We retreat. We survive. And we remember, humanity is not what we thought. They are more than we imagined. Back on the human warship, Captain Alara walked quietly among her crew, offering encouragement, listening to concerns, and ensuring no one felt the weight of the day alone. Her leadership was steady and inspiring. She understood that victory was not just about defeating an enemy. It was about protecting those who relied on them, and honoring the strength of every human under her command. The stars stretched silently around them, indifferent to the conflict, yet their light seemed to glimmer differently, as if acknowledging the quiet triumph of humanity. The galaxy had witnessed something extraordinary, a species that could face overwhelming odds, think faster than their enemies, fight without hatred, and emerge victorious. Alara returned to the observation window, staring at the drifting Zitherian ships. She whispered softly, "May they carry this lesson wherever they go. Never underestimate humans. Our strength is not just in weapons or numbers, it is in courage, in heart, and in unity." For the crew, this battle would become legend. They had survived when few expected them to, protected their colony, and shown the galaxy a glimpse of what humanity could achieve when united and determined. The stars were endless, the threats many, but one truth now shone brighter than any star. Humanity had proven itself worthy of respect, feared for courage and admired for heart. The human warship, quiet and powerful, drifted among the stars. The battle was over, but its impact would echo across the galaxy forever. Humanity had endured, humanity had fought, and humanity had won not just the battle, but the understanding of the universe itself. Years passed, but the memory of that battle did not fade. Across the stars, stories of the human warship and its crew spread like wildfire. Some whispered it in fear, others in awe, but all knew one truth. Humans were not to be underestimated. A small colony at the edge of Zitherian space had survived because a single human warship had faced the mightiest fleet, and won through courage, intelligence, and heart. Captain Alara's name became legend. Young officers and cadets in human fleets were taught about her calm resolve, her sharp mind, and her unwavering belief in her crew. She was more than a captain. She was a symbol of humanity's enduring spirit. But for Alara, it was never about fame. It was about duty, responsibility, and protecting the lives entrusted to her. She had seen fear, hardship, and loss, but she had also seen humanity's strength rise in the darkest moments. The Zitherians, meanwhile, carried the lesson like a shadow across their empire. Admiral Krylox, once proud and untouchable, could not forget the battle. He spoke quietly to his officers, his voice tinged with respect and fear. "They are humans," he said slowly. "We thought them weak. We thought them chaotic. We thought we could bend them easily. But they are something the galaxy has never seen. They fight not just with power, but with heart, and that makes them unstoppable." Even decades later, Zitherian scholars studied the encounter, trying to understand how one small human warship had defeated an entire fleet. The answer was always the same. Humans did not follow expectations. They did not bend to fear. They did not fight for conquest. They fought for life, for each other, and for principles that no amount of technology or strategy could break. Humanity's victory was not measured in destroyed ships, but in resilience, unity, and unwavering courage. Back among the stars, the human warship continued its journeys, patrolling, protecting, and exploring. Its crew had grown older, trained new generations, and passed on the lessons of that fateful day. The galaxy had changed. Systems that once ignored humans now approached with caution. Empires that once mocked them now whispered their name with respect. Humanity had earned more than survival. They had earned recognition, fear, and admiration. Captain Alara stood once more on the bridge, staring out at the endless stars. Her eyes were calm, her heart steady. "We did not fight for glory," she whispered to herself. "We fought because it was the right thing to do. And in doing so, we showed the galaxy who we are." A young officer approached, hesitant yet inspired. "Captain, will humans always be like this?" Alara smiled softly. "We will always rise when needed. We will always protect life, and we will never be underestimated. That is who we are." Far across the void, the Zitherians rebuilt, but they did so with caution. They knew humanity's reach could extend farther than any technology, any fleet, any prediction. Humanity had planted a seed of fear and respect in the galaxy, not through destruction, but through courage, ingenuity, and heart. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter that night, a quiet acknowledgement of a species that had risen against impossible odds. Humanity's story became a beacon, a legend, a reminder to all who gazed into the cosmos. Courage, intelligence, and heart can outshine even the mightiest forces. Captain Alara looked around her bridge, at her crew working, smiling, and learning. She knew the galaxy would face many threats, many battles. But she also knew this: humanity was ready. Humanity would endure. Humanity would always rise, unbroken, unshaken, and unstoppable. And somewhere deep in the darkness of space, distant civilizations whispered the same lesson, their voices carrying fear and awe alike. Never underestimate humans, never ever. The warship floated silently among the stars, small but unyielding, a testament to courage and the indomitable spirit of humanity. The galaxy would remember this day forever, and the humans who had taught it an unforgettable truth.